Yeah, yeah. As corny as this is probably going to sound, and I already know it before I say it, but the Eagles seem to have a new fruit hanging from the cornerback tree, and it is called a Bradberry. Good evening, Bird brothers and sisters. Lindy End Zone is in for the touchdown, taking the lead for the Philadelphia Eagles. One video at a time, or stream at a time, however you want to take it. I want to, give another big shout out to the recent support that I have gotten up to this point, and especially in hitting my first video hitting over 1,000 views, which I think is still currently circulating to over 1,400, and I guess that happen I guess that happens with a popular topic of discussion that well, for positive or negative purposes. In this case, of it being, positive, conversation and talking about Derek Barnett and what Brandon Graham had to say, in terms of that. But go check the video out if you haven't. But nonetheless, between that and I want to thank fellow content creators in their collaboration with me and keeping the series of Touchdown Talk alive. Episode 14 was awesome to have Philly to podcast on with the complete crew between Joe Castro and Shaky B. It was a blast having those two hanging out with me, talking some birds and going over the draft picks and what it means going forward from this year forward, and knowing how Howie Roseman has constructed the next few years after this draft class. Be sure to go check that out, as I feel that the viewership of it is a little lower than I anticipated. But if you haven't checked it out yet, please do so, and also for the support of Philly, the podcast as well. He deserves it as much as anybody else does. But let's get into the topic of discussion quick here. The Eagles finally shore up the CB2 position, and they did it in quite a dramatic fashion in signing former Giants Pro Bowl cornerback James Bradberry for a 1-year, up to $10 million deal, which is actually incentivized, where the base of it is 7.5 and 2.5 mil of that is added. Obviously, if James meets the incentives, whatever has been incentivized, that he gets that extra 2.5, and I think 7.25 of his base is fully guaranteed. And it's funny because, excuse me, the funny part of it is that I think about 11.2 million of that, the Giants are taking in dead money. So we're paying less for James's services than the Giants still have carried over after releasing him. Now we know the situation that it was at hand, that the Giants for a while could not, were looking for a trade partner for James. They could not find one. And sometimes, as we know, with free agency, it is quite a gamble, especially for a higher tier player that's going to garner a lot of attention throughout the league. And it has been said that James Bradberry did have interest in 11 total teams, and he and his agent have narrowed it down to 3. To which the Eagles ended up being the ultimate favorite, and credit to other individuals that have brought this information up on Twitter. But nonetheless, when we looked at the cornerback situation prior to James coming here, it wasn't looking all too bright, opposite of Big Play Slay, as we know, our Pro Bowl corner. Um, and then you looked at it from a broader spectrum and seen, the undrafted free agents that are brought in, guys like Josh Jobe and Mario Goodrich, guys that we have already had here, and Tay Gowan and Kerry Vincent Jr., Zach McPherson, another player that we spent a draft pick on in last year's class. Nobody really sticks out to you. Now, all this move tells me further is that, well, Howie Roseman and the rest of the front office, including Jeffrey Lurie, believe that this is, the Eagles are in a prime position to do something special. Now, it still has to be said whether it's going to be 2017-esque. Getting all the way to the Super Bowl. We're not saying that, but what we are saying is that compared to last year's team, we have a lot better of a balance. We have a lot better of a overall collection of talent when you consider the entire team as opposed to last year. Even though there's a lot of carryover remaining with some of the players that we still have. You look at the offensive side of the football, you already had Devontae Smith, Quez Watkins, and Dallas Goedert and Miles Sanders, and you add A.J. Brown to the mix. Well, it was a little bit different in the secondary, knowing that it was pretty much Darius Slay and, well, while Steve Nelson did do patchwork to the CB2 spot, there was a lot of protecting going on in terms of covering his deficiencies, whereas a guy like James Bradberry doesn't have anywhere near as many as Steven Nelson does. And part of which tells you that is the amount of money that the Eagles decided to pay him. You look at $3 million, you look at $7.5 million up to $10 million instead of a guy like Steven Nelson who only got $3 million. Sometimes you have to give that kind of payment for a guy's services, and well, ultimately, to me, this is a classic case of the cost has to justify the means. And what I mean by that is well, we're in a situation that this is a 1-year rental, so to speak, and I think Bradberry and his agent knew at a point in time that after the release from the Giants that he wasn't exactly going to get the type of deal after the unfortunate cutting from New York, and that he would have to work for another long-term contract, kind of maybe similar to the one that we gave Darius Slay in trading for him. So with that said, they have to take their chances with this, and they felt that Philadelphia was one of the best fits for James to display his skill set the best, from a schematic perspective. And well, for us, we can't complain whatsoever. I mean, it's such a great fit. He is very good. He's very good in terms of zone concepts on defense, and there's a lot more to it than meets the eye in underrated aspects where it's just a lot that James Bradberry is going to do in tandem with Darius Slay, that it puts less pressure on the safety. So, I mean, what does that mean going forward for the safety position? Who knows? We may still be able to add to it, but it's going to be a bit shaky with only $5 million in cap space. But nonetheless, at the end of it all, there's nothing to complain about with this signing. Me personally, the price is up there. Yeah, $10 million in total sounds like a lot for a 1-year rental, but at the same time, Fletcher Cox is here for $14 million. But we're hoping that a guy like Jordan Davis can grow into his own and become a better pass rusher, so he has more of a complete package to mimic what Fletcher Cox already gives us, and maybe in due time it'll pay off to where the replacement is a lot more fitting than it is right now. But with that said, let me know y'all's thoughts on the signing of James Bradberry. how this further elevates the expectations of the football team, and ultimately with with filling the cupboard for Jonathan Gannon, where do you define the expectations for our second year defensive coordinator? And with that, I will leave you guys to it to talk to me down in the comments. And for me, I'm going to head on out of here. Appreciate you guys watching another one of my videos. It's been an awesome experience to continue to grow on here and hitting 260 subscribers after being stuck at around 210 about a month ago or so, and now the growth is starting to come back once again. And I have you guys to thank for that. I deeply appreciate it. But with that, I'm going to get out of here. Thank you once again. This has been Lindy. Fly Eagles, Fly Buddy Green. You already know the deal. Good luck to my Mavs tonight, game 1 of the Western Conference Finals, MFFLs. Take care of yourselves, everyone. Have a good night, and I will see you next time.